Today we're talking about which training style is better, high intensity training or high volume. So here I'm going to show you what high intensity training looks like versus high volume training. And high volume training is typically what most people do in the gym, 99% of people. And high intensity training is more of a mindful, intentional type of training. And there's a big debate about which one is better. And if high intensity training is actually better and more efficient and can help you build the same amount of muscle that high volume training can. So which one is better? I think this is going to depend on your goal. I'm going to speak from my experience. And by the end of this video, I'm going to give you a good idea at a high level of which one might be best for you. And then I'll share with you some resources and an experiment that I'm going to run to see if high intensity training is actually better or equivalent to high volume training. I'm going to see if I can build 5 pounds of muscle in, let's say, 3 to 6 months with high intensity training only. And I'll document the entire journey. But let's get back to it. So it's going to depend on your goal. Based on my experience right now, I've tried both styles. So if you're concerned about maximum amounts of muscle, really reaching your genetic potential, as it stands right now, I think high volume training is better because you're able to build muscle faster. You're putting your body through basically a lot of stress for a period of time so that your body can be forced to build muscle. That's my experience because my first decade of training, I've used high volume. So that's what worked for me. Mix it in with a little bit of powerlifting as well. And with high intensity training, I've tried it for maybe a year now, off and on, and I think it works well for maintaining as I've tried it now. But for building muscle, I don't know if it's quite effective yet. That's why I'm doing the experiment. But for health and longevity purposes, and I think most people just trying to get in shape, I think high intensity is a lot better in terms of the efficiency, how safe it is, depending on how you perform the exercises and recover from it. A lot of people don't tell you that exercise is important, but it's only half of the equation or a fourth of the equation. There's also recovery, nutrition, and a bunch of other stuff. But anyways, so that's my experience with each one. So what is high intensity training exactly? So from my experience, it's basically a more intentional training where you perform an exercise for each muscle group for one set to momentary muscular failure. And that doesn't mean you're heaving and throwing your back into it or anything. It just means you're lifting the weight nice and controlled. You're spending about 40 to 90 seconds for the entire lift that you burn out. So you're choosing a weight that allows you to reach failure by as long as 90 seconds, right? And we can go into the details in another video. But HIIT, high intensity training, is more like one set. You're actually reaching true failure for the muscle. And it's beneficial because it stimulates your muscle fibers from the slower twitch to the highest twitch muscle fibers in order. So as you reach that failure point, you're having to recruit your muscle fibers in order from slow to fast. And by the time you're reaching those last 1 or 2 reps that cause failure, you're actually stimulating the high threshold motor units, the same ones that you use when you lift a heavy weight. So in a sense, it's more efficient. But high volume training is typical 3 sets of 10 or any type of mix where you're doing more than one set. The fitness community advocates for this type of training. It's debatable whether this is optimal for most people. It does work because it's almost like you have an insurance policy where you do more sets to make sure that you're stimulating the muscle versus not. The downside is that it's not time efficient. Most people end up spending over an hour in the gym 4 or 5 days a week. And for a lot of normal people that just want to get in shape, that doesn't work because it's hard to find even 30 minutes to make time for the gym and do the whole dance of getting your nutrition in as well, watching what you eat, sleeping well, especially with screens and all these distractions. But so that's high intensity versus high volume. My personal experience with each one, I mentioned before, I built my body on high volume training. but I started in college when I had plenty of time and no responsibilities. I'm a father now, so definitely my priorities have changed. I'm still into fitness. I'm still getting my workouts in, but I'd rather have more time for my family than spending so much time in the gym. And I have a home gym, so that works even well. That works well for me as well. But high intensity seems promising, and on paper, it looks really good in terms of the benefits and how efficient and effective it could be for long-term sustainability. So that's why I'm trying this experiment, which I'll talk about in a bit. So some concerns I have about HIIT is that it's really difficult to go to failure if you're by yourself. Most of the time, your brain will signal to you to quit early, even when you have more energy to do a couple more reps. But it's a survival mechanism, and it's a skill that you have to train to actually reach true failure. So it's going to take a few workouts to actually reach that point. I know for me it did, especially on things like squats and deadlifts. That could be dangerous, but I know HIIT is a lot better in my experience performed on machines, but I can talk about that later. And then it's not for gym rats. So if you love being in the gym, if you love to socialize and being in the atmosphere is beneficial to you, then you're probably not gonna like HIIT. I know a lot of the clients that I trained, they just loved being in the gym. So I gave them a hybrid program where it's a little bit high intensity, a little bit more high volume. So if you love being in the gym, then HIIT is not for you. High volume might be better for you. And then after a while, HIIT gets a little boring because it's kind of, you do one set to failure for each muscle group and then you're done. You spend about 20 up to 35 minutes, or at least for my workouts, in the gym. So they could get boring after a while, but I think the remedy for that is to just switch up the exercises every 8 weeks, or no less than 8 weeks. And then some of the I mentioned the pros of high intensity training is that they're time efficient. So you can spend, let's say, 2 to 3 workouts a week. Most people recommend two, the high intensity advocates, and you can spend 20 to 30 minutes twice a week. So that's 40 minutes to an hour per week just to get your workout in. And that's pretty awesome. With HIIT training, it's been said that you can also get the cardiovascular effect of HIIT training by making your rest time shorter. So going from one exercise to the next without so much rest, not so quickly that you get lightheaded, but quick enough to not be able to have a conversation while you're training. So you're getting the muscular effects as well as the cardiovascular effect in that way. And there's research showing that this has been proven effective, and I'll show you some resources in a bit. And the pros, some say it's just as good as high volume training. That's debatable, and that's something I'm going to figure out, and I will document and show you how it goes on this channel with myself as the subject. And then, so if you decide to go back from a HIIT to a high volume training protocol, you can actually know where your true failure gauge is. Because I know when people think they're reaching failure on a 3x10 program, they're not actually hitting failure at those 10 reps. They're stopping about 3 to 4 reps shy of that. And even the gym bros will advocate that they're not reaching true failure, most people. So you got to assess where that threshold is of what failure looks like, and what you think failure is. So it gives you that feedback, that kinesthetic feedback. So HIIT is also better for most people who don't have much time and you still want to maintain or build muscle and strength without the potential for injury. So advocates for HIIT are, they promote a slower rep cadence so that you're not putting peak forces on your muscles with a regular movement speed. And then especially doing Olympic lifts or faster workout speeds, those tend to put more forces on your joints, and over time can create wear and tear. And then you have a hip injury or a knee injury or a back injury, and you're out of the gym forever. So I think that's a big plus. I want to be healthy for a long time. I don't want to sacrifice my body just for the sake of more weight so that I can show off to people that I don't really care about. But that's just me. But yeah, let me show you some resources that I've come across for HIIT as well as high volume when I was building my body back in the day. So I've been training for over a decade. I've trained clients with much success. And maybe I'll put a picture on the screen of my progress up to now. In 3 years, I think I maxed out, or maybe 90% of my genetic potential, and then the rest has just been maintenance. I've lost a little bit of muscle, but that's because I'm not training all the time and keeping exact track of my meals. I'm mostly maintaining for health purposes. That's most important to me right now. But so for HIIT, if you check out Jay Vincent on YouTube, he's a good resource. He has a lot of great workouts and then great advice, even on the science of how HIIT is beneficial. There's this book that I got also by Dr. Ellington Darden. You can see it here, The New High Intensity Training. This has a really good program in it, and I found it at half-price books for $10. So worth it. You can get started on that one or one of Jay's programs, and I think those will get you started on HIIT if that's what you're interested in. But I'll also be posting my workouts here, so you can copy mine if you want. But HIIT was developed by Arthur Jones, so if you want to look him up, he's the one that made the Nautilus machines. So he's forefather of this whole movement. So I would check out his writings and interviews if you want to get a good look into that too. I just got this one too, Body by Science by Doug McGuff and John Little. I'm still reading it, but it's got a lot of good nuggets in there too, as well as the research and the science behind why HIIT is superior, right? And then some of the famous bodybuilders like Mike Mentzer and Dorian Yates, they trained with HIIT, not exclusively. They incorporated it at a later time in their career. But that's something, a good rabbit hole to get into as well. So for high volume training, the resources that I use most are T Nation articles. I don't know if you've ever heard of T Nation. If you're new to fitness, I know you probably haven't, but if you're an OG in the fitness industry, you know what T Nation is. They have a lot of workout articles. I used to scour that for hours when I was in college, and they're really helpful. Some are fluff, but others are really good. There's Jeff Cavalier, and keep in mind, this was 10 years ago. So I don't know what's become of them now, how fake they've become. If anything, I've heard things about Jeff, but I won't go into that here. Elmar Isov had good videos, and then even Elliot Hulse. I still keep up with him a little bit, but his older workouts really got me into fitness, and they got me into becoming a personal trainer as well. And then your typical gym bros, Jeff Nippard and Renaissance Periodization, they'll promote high volume training for sure, because that's what people want. And to make money, you got to give people what they want, right? Anyways, and then another honorable mention that I used with good progress was Kinobody. His programs are really good. They're kind of a hybrid of high intensity with high volume. So there's more sets in there, but he advocates a protocol that's called reverse pyramid training. I found really good success in. You just might need to be careful with overuse and make sure you're deloading as you need to. That's the video. I don't want to ramble on too much. Hopefully you got some value out of this and you can decide which training style you want to try. But if you want to see my progress in how HIIT is going for me, I'm going to start on Monday, which is tomorrow, the 16th. I don't know when this video will go out, maybe a week after this, but I'm getting in-body scans. And in-body is basically like a water impedance to check your body fat. It's not the most accurate, but I'm going to be using it for my progress to see if I can build 5 pounds of muscle within the next 3 to 6 months. And that won't be new muscle. It'll probably be muscle that I've lost over the years. So it might be a little easier to gain, but it's still a good indicator of how well I can use HIIT to build muscle. But yeah, I'm going to be training 2 times a week. Let me know in the comments if there's any type of videos you want to see. I've been training clients for years and I'm just getting back into it because that's kind of my side gig now. But let me know if you have questions and I can help you out. I know a little bit about fitness. So subscribe and like the video, leave me a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.